Site of the first Mass in the Philippines, Limasawa.
The earliest recorded Mass in the Philippine territory was held on March 31, 1521 in the island of Mazawa, as referred to in the journals of Antonio Pigafetta, and known today as Limasawa Island, Leyte. It was on Easter Sunday and was presided by Father Pedro D. Valderrama, chaplain of Magellan Elcano expedition. Two native chieftains were in attendance, the Rao Bazawa and the Rao Butuan. After the Mass, the crowd went up a little hill and planted a wooden cross upon its summit. The National Historical Commission of the Philippines affirms that Limasawa Island as a site of the first Catholic Mass in the country. Limasawa Mass marked the birth of Roman Catholicism in the Philippines, which remains as the nation's dominant religion in the country up to the present.
There are two primary sources that historians refer to identify the site of the first Mass in the country. The Francisco Albo's log and Antonio Pigafetta's account, who are eyewitnesses of Magellan voyage.
Antonio Pigafetta. It is around 1491 when he was born in Vicenza, Republic of Venice, or also known as Italy, and died at the age of 39 around 1531. He studied astronomy, geography, and cartography. Italian scholar and explorer from the Republic of Venice. He traveled with the explorer Ferdinand Magellan and his crew on their first voyage around the world. Pigafetta was one of the 18 men out of 240 who returned to Spain in 1522. Pigafetta's intention was to join Magellan and document their expedition. Francisco Albo, boatswain and navigator from the island of Rhodes in southern Norwegian island, joined the Magellan expedition as a pilot of Magellan flagship Trinidad. He began keeping his own diary, merely a logbook, while they were sailing. He was one of the 18 survivors who returned to Sebastian Elcano on Victoria after having circumnavigated the world. His intention was to keep a logbook of the voyage about the course sailed by the vessel, and turns out as the basis of where the first Mass of the Philippines was held.
Based from Historia del Nuevo Mundo by Juan Bautista Muñoz that was published in 1793, Albo's logbook was written during their expedition on their first circumnavigation of the Earth in the year around 1519 to 1522. The source was a derrotero or logbook of the voyage of Fernando Magallanes in search of strait from the Cape of St. Agustin. This edition was published in the 1793 by Bueda de Ibarra in Madrid, approximately 12,167 kilometers away from Leyte. The original journal of Magellan's voyage was published or created around 1525, with its nature or description of around 19th century red goat skin gold tool bound by Doro in 1851. It was made or written by Pigafetta Antonio with a resource type of archives or manuscripts, and stated produced in France, that is approximately 11,499 kilometers away from Leyte. The historical source that was authored by Blair Emma Helen was written in year 1903, titled The Philippine Islands, 1493 to 1803, explorations by early navigators, descriptions of the islands and their peoples, their history, and records of the Catholic missions as related in contemporaneous books and manuscripts showing the political, economic, commercial, and religious conditions of those islands from their earliest relations with European nations to the beginning of the 19th century. Then translated and published by Robertson James Alexander in Cleveland, Ohio, approximately 13,548 kilometers away from Leyte.
Limasawa evidences based on Antonio Pigafetta's account and Francisco Albo's log.
The most complete and reliable account of the Magellan expedition into Philippine shore in 1521 is that Antonio Pigafetta, which is deemed as the only credible primary source of reports on the celebration of the first Christian Mass on the Philippine soil. James Robertson English translation of the original Italian manuscript or Pigafetta account is most reliable for being faithful to the original text as duly certified by the University of the Philippines Department of European Language.
According to Pigafetta, Mazawa, the site of the first mass held on Philippine soil, is an island lying off the southwestern tip of Leyte. Based on Alvo's logbook, Mazawa lies at latitude of 9 2/3 degrees north. The latitude corresponds and fits to the position and latitude of Limasawa Island, whose southern tip lies at 9 degrees and 54 minutes north. The measure of distances between Homonhon and Limasawa and between Limasawa and Cebu, as computed by the pro-Limasawa group, matches or approximates the delineation made by Pigafetta of the distances between Homonhon and Mazawa and between Mazawa and Cebu. According to Albo, as they reached the top, the natives pointed out 3 islands in west-southwest directions, in which, according to them, there is much resources. The said 3 islands are believed to be those of Camiguin, Bohol, and northern area of Mindanao.
Ferdinand Magellan anchored off the eastern shore of a small island called Mazawa. There, they stayed 7 days, during which, on Easter Sunday, they celebrated a mass and planted a cross on the summit of the highest hill. The presence of 2 native kings in Mazawa. The king of Butuan is a visitor in the said island. Magellan's fleet took a route from Homonhon to Mazawa and from Mazawa to Cebu. That did not at any time touch Butuan or any other part of Mindanao. The survivors of the expedition did go to Mindanao later, but after Magellan's death. Jesus praised Miguel A. Bernard in his work, Butuan or Limasawa, the site of the first mass in the Philippines. A re-examination of evidence, 1981, lays down the argument that in Pigafetta account, a crucial aspect of Butuan was not mentioned. Butuan is not an island but a barangay of Butuan City located in a delta of the Agusan River along the coast of northern Mindanao.
Pilots of the Legazpi expedition understood that Mazwa was an island near Leyte and Panaon. Butuan was on the island of Mindanao. The two were different places and in no wise identical. Jaime de Vera stated that the first mass was celebrated in Limasawa, not in Butuan. Also, historian Pablo Pastels stating that the footnote to Francisco Collins' Labor Evangelica that Magellan did not go to Butuan but from Limasawa to Cebu. The issue of the exact location of the historic mass was earlier resolved by the NHI, the forerunner of the NHCP, through 2 panels of experts. The first, led by former Supreme Court Justice Emilio Gancayco in 1995, and the second by historian Benito Legarda in 2008. Both panels ruled that the site of the 1521 Easter Sunday Mass was Limasawa Island.
In conclusion, we affirm that Limasawa is the site of the first Catholic Mass in the Philippines, based on the evidence of Albo's logbook, the Pigafetta's testimony regarding the route, the evidence of Pigafetta's map, the 2 native kings, and the 7 days at Mazawa, along with the other evidence such as the confirmatory evidence from the Legazpi expedition.